Hello, everyone. How are you? Charles Day from Day to Day Senior Care. And we're ready to rock here today and are starting our senior care business. I'm going to put on the screen share here. All right, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So we are ready to rock and roll today, okay? We're going to do episode 8 on our continued series, starting your own senior care business. Pricing for profit, episode 8 today. Private pay versus government funding. All right. So, right now, everyone needs to know very important. Revenue is your most important stream, and you've got to find out which works best for you, private pay or government funding. We're going to talk about that. Um, and we're going to get right into it. Okay, folks? So let's start right here. Let's get going on the pricing for profit. Okay. The revenue fork in the road. Two different worlds, folks. Um, you have your private pay where you can do companionship, senior companions. Um, you can take private pay when you're in a home care agency. This involves out of pocket and some long term care insurances. Okay. So again, we're mainly focused on the assisted living, senior care, companionship, and home care agency. That's what we've been focusing on with this series. So now, obviously, if you were to open up your own adult home assisted living, you can certainly do private pay, and some long-term care insurances would also be accepted, like John Hancock. I remember when I was working in assisted living, when they were starting to roll out these long-term care insurance policies, and a lot of our admissions into our assisted living programs, families would start mentioning that in their, when it came to the time to talk about how we're going to, pay for mom and dad. So it continued to become a bigger thing in the senior care industry at that time in assisted living, because long-term care insurance would help offset some of those monthly costs that for room and board and for different levels of services. um, and again, back at that time, most of assisted livings in New York State were just um, no care at all. There were no special enhanced licenses. Let me have some coffee here. So a lot of things have changed over the years. Okay. Um, Long-term care insurance is not as easily accepted now in the assisted livings as it was back then. A lot of those carriers saw that they weren't making as much money. They thought, whatever they were thinking, but it wound up being very costly for them on their end. So now they're a lot stricter in their programs. And with private pay, if you'd go into home care, then you're looking at you have your private pay residents. So those clients that can pay out of pocket, certainly. Um, Also in home care, you'll have some government, which we'll talk about in a few minutes as well. Your Medicaid, your Medicare, your VA benefits. So in a New York State licensed home care agency, you can bill for third party insurances as well as private pay. Okay. I know that there's two separate. If you're certified for CMS, Centers of Medicare and Medicaid, um, they only accept, you can only accept the Medicaid and those fundings. Okay, but if you're just licensed to do home care, you can keep within those private pay perimeters. Um, and then if you went for your certification for the Medicaid Medicare services, then of course that's all third party funding. Okay. So let's see next here. Okay. Private pay, the gold standard. Private pay strategy. Okay. You have your pros. You set the rates, which can usually be higher margins when you're working with private pay, and you want the higher margins. I'll explain that in a bit. And then your fast payment, which is your weeklies and biweeklies, and I will share some of that in a minute. Also, so with the pros now, a lot of people, they know the minimum um, companions are minimum $20 an hour if they have a little experience. But the majority here in New York, the minimum they want is at least $25 an hour, if not more. Now, when you go to sign up a client, you need to factor in your profit margins because the higher the better, and the quicker you can grow your business. Now, again, everyone knows me. That's why I'm sharing this. I'm in my second year with this business, day-to-day senior care. So I've learned already that the higher profit margins work much better in our favor. But I also have learned that it's very competitive out there, and everyone's paying around the same in the market rate. So if you're doing $35, $40 an hour and you're paying your companion 35 to 40 or 25 and you're getting 35 from the client. So it all has to work out where the most important is you want to pay your companion the price that they are worthy for. They've got experience. They know the market out there. If you want long-term companions to stay with you, you want to pay them. Try and stay within the market range, if not a little higher, and you offer bonuses. Um, so again, you look at those. If you're in assisted living, obviously, you get your monthly rents and all that. All the margins are factored in as well on how much per month per cost for the employees and the food services. The owners have to wait. I remember when I was working in nursing home administration, similar to assisted living. You would look at all the expenditures each month and what their income was. And believe it or not, you can have 180 beds and have 100 beds full, and yet the owners are not happy with their profit margins because either they're below the red line, below the green line, and they're showing red for whatever reasons. But you, as a business owner, need to know that you want to, how to set your rates. Okay, fast payment too. I've learned, folks. I've learned being in this business, and we have we've got many active clients right now, close to 20. So, you have to, originally I was billing, invoices out for, due within 30 days. Um, and then there are situations where people don't pay right away. But you have to remember, you have to pay your companions um, each week. So whether you're getting paid by the owner, by the client's families or not, or the client themselves, you have to, account for the fact that they're going to sometimes be late. They may want to pay, you know, like you said, 30 days. So you want to get them into that weekly, biweekly invoicing. Okay. It's much easier that way. And you don't have to lay out so much of your business money, your capital, or whatever you set aside for payroll. Okay. Uh, so there are some cons to this as well. It's harder to find clients. Marketing, heavy is the norm. Um, but you also there is a method to finding new clients. We can discuss that in another episode that'll be out eventually. Um, and I need to check if there's any questions. Anyone has any questions? Hold on one second. If anyone has any questions, certainly let me open up the chat. I always forget to open up the chat. I will say hello. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube Live right now, and we are on LinkedIn. So anyone that wants to chime in, certainly leave us a chat. Um, leave us a message in the chat there, and we'll get back to you. All right, so let's move on to the next. Okay, government funding, the Medicaid maze, Medicaid and VA strategy. Okay. Um, so with government funding, the pros, they're massive. You know, you'll. Right now, I'm doing companionship, non-medical. So once I get my operator's license to do medical portion of home care, which is under the New York State Department of Health regulations, and they have to approve those who want to become operators of this program. Um, there is such a steady referral stream because unfortunately, there's so many people that are on government insurance that are coming out of hospitals from rehab or going into nursing homes from rehab, coming out of rehab to go back home, but they still need some medical care. They may need, dressings changed, wounds, you know, so many different things. But it gets billed through the government, and then the government continues to send these revenue streams to your business, and that divvy up into your payroll expenses. There's a lot involved. um, yes, the cons are lower rates. It's set by the state, but there's a strategy to this, and we'll get to this in a minute. There's a strategy to this private versus government. And then the cons: lower rates, again, like I said, heavy auditing and billing delays, folks. You- You're going from a LLC that you may have started for your senior care business, or Inc., or an LLC partnership, or a corp, or however you're going to go. I highly recommend you start as LLC, um, just to get assimilated to how the senior care program grows. Again, you're working with people. This is a service. You're working consistently with people day in and day out. All right. But very important is to understand um, where you want to go, because everyone is different. I personally, I have experience in 3 decades of senior care and healthcare and hospitals and nursing homes. So my choice is to go into uh, medical agency eventually. I have the application. I've got everything ready to go, but my timing is different. I need to be more proactive in building our non-medical company first, and then just continuing to grow it and grow it. And when I feel the time is right, and I feel the Department of Health will see that we're successful in this business and caring for residents, and now we want to graduate to medical services in an agency, still under the same umbrella but a separate division, run by an administrator I've already chosen. Um, I think it's the better route for me. Yeah, some people want to jump in right away. Some people want to, they have the money. They want to go get the brick and mortar. They want to go, brick and mortar building. They got, be prepared, because the state will require all your staff ahead of time, written down in the application. Yes, you have your administrator. That means you have to have your director of nursing. You've got to have your HR. You've got to have your some of your HHAs, which are called home health aides, that can provide some medical and patient care aides, and nursing staff. So you have to have, who is your billing person. They want to know who everybody in your all your staff. Okay, you have to have your payroll system up. You have to register for your Department of Labor for tax withholdings, payroll system, workers' comp, additional insurances. Because now you're going medical and you're under the um, the auspices, of the New York State Department of Health, and you better have all your policies and procedures. All right, you just can't go copy and paste something. It all has to be um, uh, perfected to your business. So if you're having a policy in HR, it's got to be specific to how you're running your HR. What's your HIPAA compliance, program? What's your chart audit program? What's your, uh, you know, um, payroll system control? Is a lot involved. So for me, although I've ran companies for owners, buildings from 280 to 300, 400 beds, even as a manager years ago, you still have to understand that there is a lot involved. And the better you start with something slow and steady, the more you'll understand it as you grow. Okay. Any questions? Okay, let's go on to the next. All right. The cost of care calculator. Can you survive this math? Hmm. Okay, everyone. Let me get back to this. I keep my eye on the chat. Okay. All right. So we've got two sides here. We got the Medicaid reimbursement and we got the private pay rate. So again, just to give you, a visual here, um, with the Medicaid, you got your caregiver pay at $20 an hour. We're just using examples here, okay? Your taxes, um, insurance, $5 an hour. So your total cost there, $25 an hour. Your Medicaid reimbursement, they'll compensate, they'll give you $28 an hour. Okay. So your profit is $3. That's it. $3 per client. All right. So as a business owner, you have to look at that and say, if I'm going to jump into home care, okay, this is not a franchise. I'm not buying a franchise. If you are looking to do a franchise, then you have to work with the owners and work out, those profit margins and costs and all that stuff. Um, but if you're doing this on your own and you're setting up your business like I doing, then you need to, weigh in all these considerations. Now, if you look at the private pay rate, caregiver gets paid $20 an hour, taxes, insurance, $5 an hour, $25 for the cost. Okay. But a private pay rate, you could basically, you could, make your own out, your own per hour. But honestly, the way I look at it is just stay within the competition. Don't go too high and certainly don't go too low. All right. Well, if you have confidence in your business, you have confidence in your companions that you've uh, hired and brought on, then demand your rate, and understand that, when you talk with the client's family, the reason for the $40 an hour, Mrs. Jones, is that, we're covering the cost of our employee and our companion, and we're also, some of the cost goes into training, some of the cost goes into background screenings, which could be $160 per background check. All right. Um, and then there's other costs that, expenses in the business. So again, you need to take a certain amount per client. Okay. And then the rest goes to the companion who's doing all the work. Okay. Me as an owner, I started one client, two, three, four. I took my income the first year before I started having newer clients and given companions over to them, I started with my own income. Oh, sure, the first few months where I was in the negative. Some folks, some people will be in the negative for 6 months, 8 months, the first year. The reason I came out profitable after the first year was because, again, I didn't let go of my 30, 40 hours. I didn't care. I was multitasking. I was learning to grow the business. I was, doing a lot of different, wearing a lot of different hats, even HR. And before my sister got better and better at it. Um, so before I ended the year, again, first client was in April of last year. So technically, it wasn't even a full year. So now I had April, May, June, July, and I still wasn't back in the positive. I was in the negative by thousands, folks. So when I finally hit like October or November, because I acquired new clients and we were over 10, 11, 12, we were 12 by the end of the year for my first year. So we were able to get back all those expenses in the first 4 months. And because I stayed diligent with my own clients as a companion and an owner, how many people are prepared to do that? Well, if you're not going to jump into a franchise, and even with a franchise, they're still going to wish you good luck in your territory. They're not just going to hand you over, a whole ton of companions and clients. All right. Unless someone who already did that work decides to leave and that territory is still, you know, still open to grow and you've got some solid foundation to walk in on. But that's the rarity. Okay. Um, so anyway, yeah. So then what you do is, and then when I come into my second year, then we exploded. Yeah, we exploded. We got 24-hour care. We've got assisted livings. I know people in the business, and it's all working beautifully. My former peers, my families working with me, and then everyone that I've known in the business have been so helpful, and I'm so grateful. So yeah, we're growing fast. Now we are in the profit. Our first quarter was beautiful. Um, but again, I am not going to switch into uh, getting the Medicare and all that other home care stuff yet until I can get a solid few years of our foundation. So you got to look at that, folks. Okay. Again, I offer private consultations. I'm going to be doing some trainings where you can come in live. There'll be like webinars that we'll hold monthly down the road. Um, and I will teach you how to start a business. I'm in the middle of it. I'm going to be, by the time I'm done with my second year, I'll have more great information to share, guys. Real stuff too. Not this, you start looking for a business, and your algorithm goes wild on your social media. And next thing you know, everyone wants to share how they started, a senior care business and how you could be rich within 3 months, guys, folks, ladies. No. Mm-mm. It all comes down to you. You're the owner, you're the leader, and the only way you're going to be successful, okay? You could have a ton of money and just get everything you need. But like most people and myself, you leave a lucrative position after 3 decades of a weekly salary. And I start from the bottom. And that's how I did it, folks. All right. Let's see. We got 5 more minutes left. I am definitely way off script today. That does happen with me. But I'm sure. What happened to my mouse here? Oh, there we go. Okay. Back to hybrid versus specialized. The strategy. Just like I spoke, folks. Just like I mentioned, you've you want to start with private pay. That's my recommendation. Again, if you go into a franchise like that has all the bells and whistles and all the shirts and logos and you're all good to go, just realize private pay, that's where you want to start. Okay? You build your cash flow. You build your stability. Once you have all of that in place, you'll know. You'll be talking with your advisory committee like I do, and and they'll be like, go for it, Mr. Day. We're ready. We're ready to jump into medical care, home care. And I'll be so happy because there's many uh people that we weren't able to take that we could have taken, but we didn't have the license yet. So I'd have to share those with my peeps, my peers, former peers I know in the industry, and newer relationships that companies that do the home care. So I pass my companions and clients on as a referral base. I hope they'll do the same for me if they get a companion they don't want, they can't take care of. We'll certainly review and see if we can. It's all about connections and relationships too, folks. Been doing it for 3 decades, building relationships, not burning bridges. So go to then after, if you follow the arrow, you see the green going down to build the cash flow and the stability. You shoot over to the right with the arrow there, and you got your continue your private pay. Never give it up. Never, ever, ever give it up. And then you add your government contracts. Get them going first. Okay. Get them going first before you take on any Medicaid or any of those. Okay. I mean, what I mean by government contracts, I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. When you go to take on your government contracts, you take them on as wisely as possible. And just remember that, licensing from New York State is separate from certification from CMS, the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare. Okay. So I would start with the Medicare before the Medicaid. That's just my personal preference. And then maximize your revenue. All right. The hybrid model. Maximize your revenue. All righty. Okay. So, next steps would be to research your local Medicaid waiver rates. Find out what they are. If you're going to go straight into government reimbursement, um, again, my first year when I was researching private pay, I certainly found out what the competition's paying. I did my due diligence. I'm the type of person that just researches. I follow everyone. I always watch and want to be surrounded by other successful businesses. Okay, same thing in the nursing homes. I always looked up to the titans in the the nursing home industry, the nursing home administrators. The one that trained me, Vince. I always to this day um, am very grateful to be under his wing because of all of his decades of experience as a nursing home administrator, and to be under his leadership. And he trained me to become to sit for the nursing state national exam first, and then when I passed, just to all the information he gave me certainly helped pass that exam. And he was the one who also got me to go out there and do this, go out and be working that department. He had me working all the departments. So okay, all right. Oh, we're at the 30 mark. So everyone, have a great weekend. It's Easter this weekend. Enjoy Passover. Enjoy. Next week, we'll go into the caregiver crisis. Recruiting secrets, folks. Recruiting secrets. All right. Everyone have a great holiday.